I'm Joyce Eng with Gold Derby here with Christophe Beck and Michael Paraskevas, composers for Hawkeye. You guys have worked together before, including on WandaVision. So how did Hawkeye become your second Marvel series?
Well, actually, is it our third Marvel project, Michael?
Yeah.
Michael first joined my team around the time I was beginning work on Ant-Man 2. And he's been a part of my team ever since. Marvel projects are such that the amount of work involved and the deadlines and the chaos of post-production make those particular projects and the with heavy visual effects and a lot of picture changes a very good fit for working with a team. And Michael and I worked together on WandaVision, I knew that when Hawkeye came along, it was a perfect opportunity to bring him on as more of a partner and equal collaborator. And that's why you see both our names on the front of that show.
Michael, you have anything to add?
Yeah, no, to say it's been a great relationship, and like Chris said, like is very involved and very just a very full all hands on deck sort of project, and so it was a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm. Well, you guys did Ant-Man and the Wasp. So how does doing a film compare to doing a TV series? WandaVision was 9 episodes and Hawkeye is 6.
That's interesting. The TV series, they're kind of like longer films in a way, like 8-9 hour films, in that they're really blessed with these kind of spectacular effects, and they really have a very cinematic approach to these series. And with the music, we kind of have that same sort of mindset, and to really match that scale with the action and storytelling.
Yes, storytelling wise, the job is the same. There's just more of everything.
Yeah.
On a project like Hawkeye. It's like 3 feature films instead of 1. I will also add something I noticed that was interesting about working on the Marvel shows being limited series is they have their storyline worked out at the beginning. I remember back in the day when I used to work on TV series such as Buffy the Vampire Slayer, it was a much more fly by the seat of the pants approach. I didn't know what was going to happen in those shows until I saw the episodes, and as soon as I saw them, I was scoring them and delivering them. It was a kind of a breakneck pace. Here, WandaVision and Hawkeye and limited series like that, we get the benefit of knowing the architecture of the story before we go in. So we have an idea of what's to come and can map the architecture of the music to fit. And so that makes it a little bit more satisfying.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, because I think with those like Buffy, like regular series, they're in production for like 9 months, and it's like they're writing as they go anyway.
Exactly.
So what was your reaction when you found out Hawkeye was set at Christmas? Because I was ecstatic.
Well, I'm no stranger to Christmas stories. The Frozen movies have a wintry feel to them. I've worked on, with Michael, actually, Christmas Chronicles 1 and 2, the Netflix movies with Kurt Russell as Santa. So that's certainly not new territory for me. The challenge was to find a way to make it interesting and new and fresh. And we did that by incorporating what I would describe as wintery-feeling electronics, using synthesizers and synthesizer programming and special audio processing to take, for example, a typical Christmassy bell type of sound or pattern, and instead of doing that with real bells, do it with something that sounds a little bit more synthetic, so you get that very interesting combination of something familiar and unfamiliar, and it keeps things a little bit fresh.
Mm-hmm, for sure.
And another thing we did too was in the first episode and last episode, we rearranged a popular Christmas tune to fit the underscore. So we did like Carol of the Bells in episode 1, and then episode 6 has arrangement of Dance of the Shipping Home Fairies. So these very classic, familiar tunes kind of reappropriated into a new sort of tension way, and kind of really set that mood with the Christmas spirit.
Yeah, I love the Nutcracker piece in A Christmas Carol, because it just started off like so big and loud and bold, and you knew it wasn't like the exact original thing, but it put a smile on my face. But for the main Hawkeye theme, like Clint Barton has not had his own main theme despite being an OG Avenger for 10 years. But obviously the running joke is that he's just a dude with a bow and arrow. So was his lack of a theme an exciting prospect for you guys? Because nothing existed yet for him?
Always. It's an amazing feeling, especially with a franchise as storied and as vast as the Marvel Cinematic Universe. The opportunity to set the tone for a character is one that I relish. I loved doing it for Wanda and Vision in WandaVision. And especially here, especially because you mentioned he's kind of an afterthought. And that's part of the running joke inside the universe. So it's great to finally give him his due. And it's also an honor to do that in today's Marvel Cinematic Universe, where I feel like we composers, the community of composers who contribute to Marvel shows, I think are much more conscientious about continuity. I know I can speak for myself when I get an opportunity to reference music from an earlier movie or an existing character theme. I think it only serves to make the entire tapestry, storytelling-wise and music-wise, more cohesive.
So there's a couple big moments later on in the series where we reference Yelena and Natasha. Right. And they were very integral to the storyline and kind of part of Clint's redemption. So it was cool to draw upon those musical references, and then to see other Marvel projects kind of draw on from the music that we've done and from WandaVision, other sorts of things. So.
Yeah, I'll never forget the first time I experienced that, which was I think in the last Avengers movie, where Alan Silvestri played a little bit of my theme from Ant-Man when his character was introduced on screen, and I remember what a thrill that was.
Yeah, no, I really love how you guys worked in. It was even from you, right? From Infinity War, yeah, and then like obviously the Yelena theme from Black Widow, and it works obviously with the scene and what's happening there on the rooftop in the fight and Kate falling off. But I think it's also exciting for fans because, like you're saying, now you have this wealth of music and also MCU history, and fans, even if they don't know the exact track, it sounds familiar to them and they could point to it. Yeah,
it works on a subconscious level, and for super fans it works on a conscious level, who are very, very attentive to all manner of Easter eggs in all Marvel projects, and they're rewarded because there's lots of them, and it's great to be a part of that culture as well, to drop in those Easter eggs that are musical.
Yeah, and I think it's now like with the shows, it's like you want the thematic continuity between the films and the series as well. Exactly. I love Kate's theme because I think it like her and Clint's theme like kind of speak to each other because they're kind of similar. There's like the bell sounds that you talked about, but it's a little bit more upbeat, befitting her personality because he's a little bit more downbeat. But it's both still heroic. So what was it like writing a new theme for a new character we hadn't seen yet in the MCU?
Yeah, that was fun because there's something we talked about, how she has that kind of rebellious kind of punk teenager attitude. So we get a lot of that in her theme and the way we've used it throughout the series. In that it's kind of she's not afraid to break the rules and kind of do her own thing. But then, like you said, like it still kind of builds up into these heroic moments. And then there's a couple of places where we actually superimpose her theme and the Hawkeye theme, like in the warehouse fight was a big one, and then at the very end too, on when they're fighting on the ice rink, and you kind of hear both themes playing at once, and that was really cool how they were able to work together.
Yeah, because that was the last one is Give 'Em Hell. Yeah, like the big battle. So when you have to score like the big final set piece like that, like is that added pressure, or do you kind of know what you're gonna be doing? Like you want to blend like their themes and just maybe do like full orchestra and it's like triumphant.
Well, it's as Michael said, it always is a thrill when you can take two different character themes and you have a reason storytelling wise to combine them and they actually work together. It's not always the case. But to your question, yeah, big set piece battles are labor intensive. And it takes a lot of time to work them out. It's just, I don't know if you remember, I may be dating myself here, the movie Amadeus, where the king comes to Mozart and he says too many notes. You know, it's the only thing he can think of to criticize a piece. Well, that's what sometimes I feel like when I'm working on a big action piece, and that's usually when I'm working with Michael. I call Michael. I say, "Hey, Michael, here's 5 minutes of action music. Why don't you take this one?" That works out well for us because it's actually one of Michael's great strengths as a composer, is to write big, complex and sophisticated action music.
So what, Michael, what did you do with that 5-minute piece he sent you?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, it is labor intensive, but I think it's also, as a composer, you really get excited about those moments because it's kind of the culmination of the whole score into these like a couple minutes of action, and it's really all these moments are coming together, and so it's like Chris said, it's really fun to kind of lean into that. And there's definitely times where I have too many notes and like it takes a lot of like self-discipline to kind of find the right balance of how big and how present the music can be without going too far. But those types of moments are definitely very exciting because the music really has a place storytelling wise to really stand out and to really carry the emotion in those moments.
Mm-hmm. Well, another new character is Maya Echo, and her theme is more melancholic. It's kind of slow and heartbreaking because she's like an anti-hero really, and now she has her own show, so hopefully that'll be incorporated in Echo. But what was your approach to composing her theme?
I wanted to make sure exactly that it felt a little bit melancholy, but there's also some wrong notes in the theme. I put those in quotes. They're notes that you wouldn't normally assume would fit with the underlying music. And they're not, I don't lean on them too hard, but they're the kind of in-between notes in the theme. And they're deliberately a little bit dissonant. And I think that gives you the feeling of her character. You know, she has a tragic backstory for sure. And I personally don't know the story of the upcoming Echo series, but I have to assume we're going to really flesh out her character, and she's going to become three-dimensional. We're going to feel really a lot of sympathy for her, and we'll root for her. But I also wanted to make sure that we knew that her life so far has had a lot of darkness in it, and struggle. And I wanted to make sure that was reflected almost literally in the note choices of the theme.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And one thing I really liked about the theme too is that it has this sense of melancholy, but then Maya, she kind of turns into a badass action hero. We're able to kind of like put in low brass and these darker electronic elements, and it still works. The theme is adaptable to kind of her different sides of her personality, and kind of is able to reflect her journey throughout the series.
Mm-hmm. I also really enjoyed the Battle of New York theme, and I love how like got the scene. We're seeing the scene from a new perspective, from a perspective of a child, and we have this new piece of music, and it's these like high-pitched strings, kind of foreboding, and there's a point where it sounds like the strings are fraying, and then in comes the Hawkeye theme to save the day,
right?
Like her hero.
That's interesting. That's really interesting because for a very long time, we all decided that the best thing to do there would be to literally lift the exact same music from, is it the first Avengers movie?
Yes.
Age of Ultron. And that to really reinforce the connection. Yes, we're seeing it from a new perspective, but we wanted to make sure the audience really understood that they were seeing this same moment from a different perspective. And I think that persisted. We had it all ready to go, all ready to record right up until the end. And at a certain point, Kevin Feige saw it and he's like, we have this great new theme for Hawkeye. Why don't we just put the theme there? So it was kind of a last minute switch to just say, you know what, let's trust the audience to make that connection and take the opportunity to really introduce Hawkeye's theme because it's his introduction to the series and it just made sense.
And it's his introduction to Kate too, and kind of her looking up to him. And so it definitely made sense for her to do it from her perspective as well in that moment.
Yeah, right, that's how he became her hero.
Yeah,
right. She's in awe. So that's a great point, Michael.
Mm-hmm. There are a lot of fun pieces too, like reminiscent of your Ant-Man themes, like the fun heist music, right. Very cheeky and mysterious. But I think my favorite of those is LARP in the Park, like all the LARPing music, because it's like medieval type style music, and it's just a lot of fun, especially when it plays in the park in the second episode, I guess, when he walks through the crowd. So how did you guys go about composing those?
I mean, those are, like you said, those are just a lot of fun, and it stands out on its own, separate from the rest of the score. So it's just a question of really taking the, in comedy and in comedy scenes, a lot of times the music that will elicit the most fun and laughter from an audience is not necessarily funny music, but music that gets in the head of the characters and exaggerates their inner world. So here you have a bunch of characters in their own inner world. They're taking their roles very seriously in this park. And so it was really just a question of getting inside the head of these, frankly, a little bit ridiculous characters and exaggerating what they think of themselves.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. And it works with also like Clint, like he's not taking it seriously, but like he just needs to partake in this to get the suit back. Well, lastly, I gotta ask about the titles of some of these tracks, because I love a good pun, and these titles are puntastic. So I'm gonna read some of them. You have Carol of the Buy and Sells, Bows of Holly. It's beginning to look a lot like Clint's Mess. Do You Fear What I Fear? Barton Funk, which is just inspired. Yuletide Fray, Bone and Marrow, Christmas Peril, Wreck the Halls. So when did you guys decide to do puns, and how much fun did you have coming up with these titles?
Okay, so let me just say I've been a pun lover my entire life, and now you've hit upon the real reason why Michael is an invaluable member of my team, because most of those are his.
They're all his. I will all Michael.
It's beginning to look a lot like Clint's Mess. I mean, come on. That's all
okay.
Michael.
That's one of my favorite ones ever.
I will just toot my own horn for a second. My crowning achievement, I believe, is a movie I did called Red, starring Bruce Willis, and that stood for Retired, Extremely Dangerous. It was right there in the poster. And when I made the soundtrack album, were you around for that, Michael, or was that before your time?
Before my time?
Yeah. I decided every track on the album was going to be a different RED acronym. So I believe there was a piece of music that was just under dialogue, and we had the main character is just chilling on the porch. That was called Regular Easygoing Dudes. And the very last cue after our heroes have saved the day and we're wrapping up is called Relieved Embrace, Done. So I encourage anyone watching or listening to this to go look up the soundtrack to Red on Spotify, and please enjoy
that after this.
Please enjoy my crowning achievement track title.
Well, Michael, this is your time to brag about these titles now. What was the easiest one to come up with? Which one was the toughest?
Actually, my favorite one we ended up not getting to use for the warehouse fight. I called it what was it? Isle of Misfit Toys, spelled AISLE, but it was too close to the property. But it was fun, coming up.
Yeah, Marvel put the kibosh on that, right?
Yeah. I think every project that like we've worked on together, like we try to like come up with different titles. We used to have like a whiteboard in Chris's studio that we just throughout the projects be adding different ideas, and when the moment calls for it, you just kind of know.
Yeah, I put a couple of those very packed and full whiteboards up on my social media. I will also say that Marvel does want to approve all the track titles, mostly to make sure that we're not spoiling anything. But sometimes, as a result of that, some of our favorite punniest track titles end up on the cutting room floor.
Oh no, was there one here?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nothing comes to mind right now.
Yeah, but we definitely had a couple rejected, but I think it's you're happy with which ones you get to keep.
Yeah, these are good,
really
but you guys can like re-release it with the forbidden title, I guess.
The bootleg copy.
Yeah, there you go. The composer's cut.
I wanted to do a title on the Ant-Man 2 soundtrack that was all emojis, but I think, I don't think they.
That's tough.
Like that much, yeah.
Well, I hope you guys for your next one, whatever it is, more puns, more acronyms,
Always.
maybe emojis. So there you go.
All right.
It was great speaking with you guys. Thank you both for your time.